When you're creating a new service request, there are a lot of options provided for you by default that are some of the more common options. But if you'd like to specify your own options, you can do so by clicking here. At this point, consider the different actions you would like to have us take with your items. Maybe you would like us to photograph your items or inspect your items. Maybe you've already made a submission to us, but you'd like to amend that by making another submission. Whatever actions you'd like to have taken can be entered here, one per line. To start our example, let's say we would like to have our items delivered, but we would like some items delivered to one location and some delivered to another. Instead of just entering delivery 1 and delivery 2, it might be a little bit more descriptive to actually come up with terms that describe better what we're wanting to have done. Perhaps the destinations of those items would be good. Let's say lake house for some items, and some other items I'd like delivered to my daughter Sally. You can enter anything you like into these. Then we hit next. Now we simply select which items we would like to go to the lake house and which items we would like to go to Sally. Once we've done this, we hit next. And just as with our simpler example, we enter some basic instructions such as an address. At this point, we can submit our request. I also want to point out, though, that we can pause our work, leave it, come back tomorrow. We could log out entirely. Everything that we're doing as we put our request together is saved for us. If at any point you'd like to cancel your request, you can do that by hitting the cancel button down below. If you do decide to pause work on your request, you can get back to it at any time by going back to your dashboard using the home icon in the upper left of the page. Once you're here, you'll notice a button to view your request. You can click that at any time to resume your work. You can also see your past requests by clicking this link directly below it. But let's get back into editing our request. Before submitting your request, it's possible to edit any of the details about that request. For example, let's say we've decided that we'd also like an additional action taken on some of our items. Maybe we would like some of our items disposed of. We simply add the action here at the bottom. Now that we've done this, we also need to select some items that need to be disposed of. We would simply go down the list and choose the appropriate items by checking the new box that has appeared among the other two. Let's say we want to get rid of our bar stool. We hit next again. We can see that it's here, and then we would provide some instructions. It's also possible to delete actions entirely. Let's say we've changed our mind again. We want to keep the bar stool after all. We would hit delete, confirm that this is what we want, and that action will no longer be part of this request when we submit it. In addition to adding new actions to our request or deleting existing actions, we can also rename existing actions. Let's say, for example, that we would like some items delivered to our lake house on one day, but some other items delivered to the same lake house on a different day. We could, in order to differentiate the two, rename our existing one to include the date that we would like these items delivered, and then add another action with a different date. Now we would go to change our item selections. We can do this with any one of these edit links here or the link at the top. Back at our item list, we can change the selected items from one date to another and select some other items if we'd like to. While we're here, Let's look at a couple other ways that we can select items if we'd like. When we're looking at the details of a particular item, we'll notice that those same checkboxes show here. Let's say this lampshade should go to Sally. Checking that here also makes the change on the left. We can do this one item at a time if we'd like. Let's say we want to see the details of the item before we actually select them. It's just another way that we could do this. One more way that we can select items is by doing several at a time. Let's say, for example, we want all of our bar stools to go to Sally as well. We could search for them. And then, instead of selecting each one, we could select all, edit the selected items by setting the requested service. Let's send them all to Sally. Selecting items in this way may be more cumbersome if we're only dealing with a few items, but if you're dealing with a great number of items, it could save you a lot of time. It's also useful for recombining or moving items from one action to another. For example, let's say we decide that we want all of our items going to the lake house on the same day again. We could clear our search for the bar stools and filter only for those items which are currently going to the lake house on March 17th. Then we might decide to take all of those items and set them to come on the 14th instead. Now that we've done this, we can view our request and we'll see there's no item selected to come on the 17th anymore. So we could delete that. Another thing that could be done when we're changing our item selections, in the middle of working with our items, we might decide that we want some of our items going to something else entirely. So to do this, we could select some items and set the requested action to an entirely new action. Let's say we want to dispose of these items. This will simultaneously select the items while creating a brand new action, and those items are part of that action now. Again, when we're happy with all of our selections, we hit Next, provide all of our instructions, and finally, at the end, we submit our request.